April in Days of Our Lives may not just bring a few twists here and there. It may bring the kind of fallout that changes Salem on multiple levels at once. Because when you really look at this preview, the biggest story may not be one single shock. It may be the chain reaction behind all of them. Relationships are shifting. Secrets are getting harder to contain. Old power struggles are becoming more dangerous. And the closer Salem gets to the truth, the more it feels like several lives could be permanently altered before this month is over. That is what makes this April preview feel so strong. It is not just promising drama. It is promising pressure. Emotional pressure, family pressure, financial pressure, and the kind of personal guilt that can push people into choices they never expected to make. Let's start with Gabby and Philip, because this living arrangement may bring them closer in ways neither of them fully expects. Moving into the Kuriaki's mansion is not just a practical decision. In Salem, living under the same roof changes emotional boundaries fast. It creates daily intimacy, shared pressure, and the kind of constant proximity that can quietly turn attraction into something much deeper. So yes, this move may strengthen Gabby and Philip's connection. But that is exactly why it feels so risky. Because the more personal this relationship becomes, the harder it may be for Gabby to separate those feelings from the damage happening around Titan. Philip is trying not to dwell on the possibility that Maggie could lose the house if the loan payment falls apart, but that threat is hanging over everything now. This is no longer just corporate fallout. It is becoming family-level loss. The worse things get for Titan, the harder it may be for her to ignore her own role in the merger collapse. That guilt could start poisoning even the comfort she finds with Philip. She may begin to question whether she deserves this growing connection when so much pain may be linked to decisions she helped set in motion. It may become a story about two people getting emotionally closer while guilt, financial fear, and personal consequences make that closeness harder to trust. Then there is EJ, who may be pulling off something even more dangerous than a legal victory. If he makes this plagiarism problem disappear, he will not just be fixing a crisis. He may be deepening Johnny's emotional dependence on him at exactly the right moment. Johnny already feels burned by Titan and humiliated by the trap he fell into. That kind of experience can leave someone desperate for solid ground, and EJ may be stepping in as the one person offering a way forward. Because if Johnny stays in the Demera CEO seat now, it may look like a smart professional move. On the surface, it could seem like he is rebuilding after betrayal. But underneath that, EJ may be quietly turning himself into the architect of Johnny's next chapter. EJ is at his most effective when he does not have to demand control openly. He simply removes other options until the path he wants starts to feel safe, logical, even necessary. If Johnny starts seeing EJ as the man who protected him, rescued him, and restored his future, then that influence may become much harder to break. It may be about Johnny getting pulled deeper into EJ's orbit without fully realizing how much of his future is being shaped for him. At the same time, Theo may be carrying the kind of secret that becomes more dangerous with every passing day. Knowing Lexi is on the verge of returning is already overwhelming enough. But what makes this storyline so emotionally powerful is that Theo is not being given space to process that truth honestly. EJ wants silence. EJ wants control. And he is clearly trying to steer Theo away from both the Demera power struggle and the truth itself by framing it around what Lexi would supposedly want. But that pressure may not hold for long. Because this is no ordinary secret. Theo is now holding information that could completely upend Abe's world, deepen Paulina's burden, and trigger one of the biggest emotional shocks Salem has seen in a long time. The more real Lexi's return becomes, the less this feels like something Theo can quietly carry on his own. Theo may start out trying to stay loyal, stay calm, and stay quiet. But silence may begin to feel less like protection and more like betrayal, especially if Abe remains in the dark while everyone else struggles under the weight of this truth. That emotional conflict could tear Theo apart from the inside. So the real drama here may not be about whether Theo knows the secret. It may be about the exact moment he realizes keeping it has become more painful than revealing it. Once Lexi wakes up, this story may stop being about secrecy and start becoming pure emotional fallout. On the surface, her return sounds like a miracle. It should be the kind of moment that brings relief, gratitude, and overwhelming joy. But in Salem, a miracle that has been hidden rarely arrives cleanly. It usually comes wrapped in shock, confusion, and painful questions about who knew what, and why the truth was kept buried for so long. Sooner or later, he is going to learn that Lexi is alive. And when that moment comes, his reaction may be far more complicated than simple happiness. Yes, there may be joy, but there may also be anger, disbelief, and a deep sense of betrayal once he realizes this life-changing truth was kept from him. That emotional mix is what could make this reveal so explosive. Because Lexi's return may not just reunite a family. It may force that family to confront the damage caused by silence. Paulina is already carrying the weight of that secret, and Theo may soon be crushed by it too. So when the truth finally reaches Abe, the miracle itself may be real, but the peace everyone expects from it may be delayed by pain that can no longer be contained. Meanwhile, the tension surrounding Brady, Sarah, and Xander may be turning into something far more dangerous than ordinary romantic drama. If Brady and Sarah's connection becomes more passionate, then the emotional stakes change immediately. Once a relationship crosses that line, it becomes harder to dismiss, harder to undo, and much more likely to trigger real fallout. This would no longer be about attraction sitting in the background. It would be about a choice that affects everyone around it. Xander is not someone who will quietly absorb feeling pushed aside. If he senses that Sarah is slipping away from him emotionally, or worse, turning toward Brady in a way that feels intimate and serious, his reaction could make this situation spiral fast. What starts as a private emotional shift could easily become resentment, confrontation, and retaliation. Because Brady and Sarah may think they are only dealing with their own feelings, when in reality they may be setting off a chain reaction that Xander takes very personally. And once that happens, this may stop feeling like a messy triangle and start feeling like the beginning of a much bigger emotional disaster. Then there is Kristen and Sophia, which may become one of the most unstable partnerships in the entire April preview. On paper, it makes sense that they would see potential in each other. They are both unpredictable, both comfortable operating in morally gray territory, and both capable of turning chaos into opportunity. In Salem, that kind of shared instinct can absolutely create a powerful alliance. But it can also create a very dangerous one. Because the biggest weakness in this partnership may be trust, or more accurately, the complete lack of it. Kristen and Sophia are both the kind of players who want leverage, not equality. Neither one is likely to feel comfortable being vulnerable, and neither one is likely to believe the other is entering this arrangement without a hidden motive. This alliance may not fall apart because it was weak from the start. It may actually work for a while. And that could be what makes it even more dangerous. If Kristen and Sophia do manage to help each other temporarily, that success may only give both women more reason to stay guarded, plan ahead, and prepare for the moment the other one becomes a threat. So this may not be a partnership doomed by failure. It may be a partnership doomed by success, one that works just long enough to turn both sides into each other's next problem. On a completely different emotional track, Leo's storyline may bring one of April's quietest but most painful blows. If Leo finally realizes that Javi is the man he truly wants, that should feel like a breakthrough. It should feel like emotional clarity, the moment when confusion falls away and the heart finally catches up with the truth. But according to this preview, that realization may come at exactly the wrong time. because Javi is already involved with someone else. And that is what could make this hit Leo so much harder than a normal rejection story. This may not be about being openly turned down. It may be about realizing that the opportunity was there, the feelings were real, and yet the timing slipped out of reach before Leo fully understood what he wanted. That kind of regret tends to cut deeper, because it leaves a character confronting not just loss, but delay, the painful idea that they arrived at the truth too late to do anything with it. Leo usually brings wit, attitude, and unpredictability to the screen. But if this plot leans into disappointment and vulnerability instead, it could reveal a much softer side of him. And sometimes that kind of understated heartbreak lands harder than the louder storylines, because it feels personal, intimate, and painfully human. So this may not be Leo's most explosive story, but it could become one of his most emotionally revealing. And finally, April may matter not only because of the drama on screen, but because of what it may signal about where Days of Our Lives is heading next. Ari's recast debut, Chad's recast arrival on April 21st, and Stefano's will reading do not feel like random developments placed close together by accident. Taken as a group, they suggest that the show may be entering a transitional phase, one where familiar names, legacy connections, and major family stakes start moving back to the center of the canvas. A will reading in Salem is never just paperwork. It is usually the beginning of conflict. It has the power to reopen family wounds, revive old rivalries, and pull buried resentments back into the present. Money, legacy, control, and family identity all tend to collide in stories like this, which is exactly why the fallout could spread well beyond the Damaras themselves. And Chad's arrival right as that chaos begins may be more than good timing. It may be the show deliberately placing a major legacy figure back into the middle of a power shift. When Days starts combining recasts, inheritance drama, and family instability in the same month, it often means the writers are laying groundwork for bigger changes ahead. Not just one twist, but a broader reset in who matters, who leads, and who gets pulled into the next major chapter. So April may not just be delivering short-term shock. It may be quietly reshaping Salem's future. So when you put all of this together, April may become a month defined by one huge theme: secrets turning into consequences. Gabby and Philip may discover that closeness comes with guilt. Johnny may move deeper into EJ's orbit without realizing the cost. Theo may struggle under the burden of a truth too powerful to contain. Lexi's return may bring shock instead of peace. Brady, Sarah, and Xander may be heading for emotional fallout. Kristen and Sophia may be building an alliance that could implode at any moment. And Salem itself may be preparing for a major transition as new faces and old family wars take center stage. So now I want to hear from you. Which storyline are you most excited for this April? Do you think Theo will keep Lexi's secret? Can Gabby and Philip survive the Titan fallout? And is EJ truly protecting Johnny, or just tightening his control? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this month looks packed with twists that could change everything. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next Days of Our Lives spoiler analysis.